Oh, boy.
Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rebecca.
So just to let you know, I'm actually in my car. I'm dialed in on the Zoom through my phone, but I'm in my car, so I don't have the camera on because of that.
Okay.
And Rebecca, just a heads up that we are live right now. All right, we are ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As Chair of the Commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 10 a.m. This Zoom webinar is live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they currently are using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation in Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on the michigan.gov/MICRC website and written public comment submissions. There's also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. This portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by both the commission and the public. Members of the media who have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Executive Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the public watching and the public record, I will turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present. I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Reinhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. And also please disclose where you are attending remotely from. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Doug Clark.
Present, and I am attending this meeting from Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Juanita Curry.
Present, and I'm attending this meeting from Detroit, Michigan.
Anthony Eade.
Good morning, Sarah. Present, virtually attending from Detroit, Michigan.
Brittany Kellum.
Good morning, present and attending from Wayne County, Michigan.
Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Wexford County, Michigan.
Steve Lett.
Present, attending from Grand Traverse County.
Cynthia Orton.
Present, attending remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan.
MC Rothhorn.
Present, attending remotely from Lansing, Michigan.
Rebecca Satella.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Janice Follett.
Present, attending from Luce County, Michigan.
Aaron Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Richard Weiss. Dustin Witches. 11 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. We will now do the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or removals from the agenda for today? I see none. Do you have any, Rebecca? Since you're on the phone.
I don't. I did ask Edward to restructure the agenda to move the independent legal up
Yep.
to the top, but I thought that had been done already. Has it not been done?
It has been done. Yeah, it's a top item on the new business. Yep. Okay. I will now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So
Do I have a
moved.
motion?
Okay, yeah, that was my only concern.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion to approve it by Commissioner Lett. Do I have a second?
A second.
A second by Commissioner Rothorn. Is there any discussion or debate on the motions? I see none. Hearing none, it is moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Hi.
Aye. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. I see none. The ayes prevail. The motion is adopted. And we will move forward at this point.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
apologies for the interruption. I just wanted to note that Commissioner Witches has joined us by phone. Commissioner Witches, can you let us know where you were joining remotely from?
We cannot hear you, Commissioner Witches.
We can return to him in a moment and see if maybe we can work out some technical issues.
Okay, I also see that Commissioner Lang has joined us on the phone.
Yes, she was here. She was present during roll.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Okay, without objection, we will begin the public comments pertaining to the agenda topics portion of our meeting. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comments. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live remote public comment to the commissions will now be allowed. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you're on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host wants you to speak and prompt you to press the *6 to unmute. I will call you by your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Also, please note that if you experience technical or audio issues, or we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we'll move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we'll help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period at a later meeting. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. First in line, we have James Gallant that will be speaking today.
Mr. Chair, apologies again for the interruption, but I misspoke earlier. It is actually Commissioner Weiss who has joined by phone. Commissioner Weiss, can you hear us? Seems like we may still be having technical issues, but I will work with Commissioner Weiss to get that resolved. I'll now unmute Mr. Gallant and his time will begin.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and proceed, Mr. Gallant.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition. These are my opinions. Mr. Chair, please post all of my written comments to the website. Like you said, I submitted several and they only posted one. If you could post all of my public comments, that would be great because I have receipts for them. And Chairman Carr, Please properly dispose of your pending unfinished business item of reciting the Pledge of Allegiance that was made that you had voted to put on the agenda at a prior meeting. It was several months ago. And it was kind of tabled by consensus by Chairman Kellum and suggesting that it was too controversial. And then you never even made a motion. You never voted on it. So that's still unfinished business. So please add that to the agenda here and properly dispose of that under Robert's Rules of Order, because this is how Marxist style communism works. Our case in controversy is that it appears that your consensus decision-making process it contradicts and is repugnant to our US and Michigan constitutions. The discussion comes first, and the business appears to be generated by the staff instead of by the commissioners. It says that you can hire employees and they will perform their duties at the direction of the commission, not they're directing you. That's where all this business is coming. They're already made then you just rubber stamp it. This is how communism works. And this is Marxist style communism. And I've never really met communists before, but now I have. And the worldwide consensus on Wikipedia, that's a consensus organization too also, is that consensus decision-making is an alternative to Robert's Rules of Order. Even though Mike Brady specifically told you, you must follow Robert's Rules of Order. And you can't change the rules, but within the framework of Robert's Rules of Order, because that's how we do it in capitalist societies. You're doing it the way they do it in communist societies. And you could do that in the basements of your nonprofits and at your corporation.
Your allotted time has ended. Please conclude that statement, if at all possible. That concludes our public comments. So we do not have any other individuals that are here to speak today. Please feel free to email public comments to the commission at redistricting@michigan.gov. We appreciate everyone who offers public comment in whatever way you choose, and invite you to keep sharing your thoughts, especially if you would like to share ways that the commission. Okay, let's move on the agenda to the unfinished business. Unfinished business agenda item 5A, changing the rules and procedures for calling a special meeting. Without objection, I will ask Commissioner Rhonda Lang to present this item. Hearing no objection, please proceed. Commissioner Lang.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think we pretty much went over why I was recommending the change at the last meeting. So pretty much what I'm asking is for the commission to vote on changing the rules that would allow 2 commissioners who are in agreement to call a special meeting. It was suggested also that we do it with 3 commissioners, 1 from each political party. However, in doing that, I think that we could get into a situation where we could be having a quorum, which is against the rules. And again, the reason for this is there were 4 commissioners from 2 political parties or political affiliations that felt a special meeting was in order and they were not able to have one. So I think hopefully there wouldn't be a need in the future, but I think it's a good idea to have that rule in place to do that. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Commissioner Lang. Commissioner Lett, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of this amendment. 2 people is, in my opinion, too few. It would, in my opinion, again, if you have a couple of commissioners who feel aggrieved for whatever reason, can then force a special meeting. If you leave it at, if you have 4 commissioners who will agree, then I think you have a little leavening with 4 people. 4 people would have more opinions, and I think would be more in the mainstream of what the commission would be looking at. 2 would be is too few. We need to have some consensus even on a special meeting, and 4 would be a relatively good number.
Commissioner Curry.
Yes, and I agree with Commissioner Lett. I don't think that we should at this time be changing anything, any rules or anything.
Commissioner Zatella, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand, is Steve saying he's okay with the changes if it's increased to 4 versus 2?
Commissioner Lett?
That would be correct.
Okay, I would be in favor of that too. Excuse me, just increasing the number from 2 commissioners to 4 commissioners, but otherwise going with the changes that Rhonda has opposed. Rhonda, do you have any thoughts on that?
I would be okay, I think, with the 4, but I still think that the more commissioners that have to agree, we push, I guess, the quorum, because I'm fine with 4. I mean, if it needs to be 4, let it be 4. It's not what. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Weiss, do you have any comments? Still cannot hear from Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Rothorn, comments?
I think Rhonda spoke well to this last month when the idea of like polling. So I feel personally stuck between sort of a rock and a hard place. Like I think 2 is too few, but I also don't agree with the idea, or I agree the idea that like the more commissioners we have, we're essentially polling and gathering votes, which I think is against what we want. And so I guess I feel like maybe, personally, I guess I'm just saying, like, I do feel like I'm stuck. I understand the situation and why we want to change it, but I also feel like changing it is not necessarily, no matter how many people, right? Because 2 is too few, and 3 or 4, again, Rhonda has spoken to us. So I guess I'm just gonna, that's my situation. I feel stuck.
Okay, Commissioner Wagner, do you have a comment?
I do, considering the fact that the chair, the vice chair, or the executive can each call a special meeting individually and independent of the other person, makes me think 2 is just fine.
Even though
Thank
they
you.
can call a meeting, it doesn't.
Commissioner Curry, do you have a comment?
I just said that even though they can call a meeting, it doesn't get the votes. I think we should stick to our original way of voting. And because it may be a day where some people may not even be able to be there. And then you're voting on just a small number. So I'm in disagreement to it. I don't think we should change anything.
Okay. Are there any other comments from anybody else? I have a few comments to add. All right, let me add my comments. I see no reason to make any change at all. I'm satisfied with the way it's written today. I think there's a couple underlying factors. One is to have a special meeting. You've got to organize all the staff behind the scenes, which would include all the interpreters and that gets into scheduling. It also allows us, the way it is today, to do some research prior to the meeting, which in the case of the last time we had a suggestion to have a special meeting and we did not, we spent 2 weeks doing research. And unfortunately, one of them was a holiday week, and that caused part of that problem. And thirdly, the time between regular meetings is a maximum of about 4 weeks. And other than court issues that come up that we have to have a date to to make changes to. I personally don't see where there's an urgency for very many items to be in a special meeting at all. So I would suggest that we keep things exactly as they are. Commissioner Lett? I'll
I
get to
will-
you, Commissioner
I'll
Zotella.
hold mine until Rebecca was.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Zotella.
Yeah, I just have some further comments on that. I mean, thinking about the comments that were just made, about the power of the chair and the vice chair. I mean, in those situations, you have one person who's making a decision to call or not call a special meeting. And so, you know, we're all supposed to be equals on this commission. The chair and the vice chair are supposed to be facilitators, not leaders. And so to me, the way it's currently written is it seems like it's giving a disproportionate amount of power to a chair and a vice chair, and then disenfranchising everybody else who might similarly have concerns. So in light of that comment about, you know, the power of the chair and the vice chair, I do kind of feel like 2 is sufficient. We've been in place for almost 3 years at this point. We've honestly, I think only one time had a request for a special meeting in that almost 3 year time period. So I don't think that this is going to be used in a manner that's not judicious. So in light of that, I actually moved to adopt the proposed changes that Rhonda has made in the exact text that she has proposed.
All right, I've got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did, Commissioner Wagner.
Okay, Commissioner Wagner seconded. Commissioner Zotella put the motion forward. Commissioner Lett, you have a comment?
I move to amend the proposed language to read 4 commissioners.
Okay, do we have a second to that? I see no second. Commissioner Zotella, I can't see your hand. Do you have a second on that?
No, I did not.
Okay, and I don't know of anybody else that's on the phone. Okay, thank you. All right, and there is no second to that, Commissioner Lett. So let's move forward with a vote on the motion.
Roll call, please.
Yes, let's have a roll call. Please, Ms. Reinhardt.
Commissioners, please indicate your support of the motion with a yes or a no. Again, the motion would be to amend the adopted rules of procedure to allow 2 commissioners to call for a special meeting with not less than 5 hours notice. Again, please indicate your support of the motion with a yes or a no. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Aaron Wagner.
Yes.
Doug Clark.
No.
Juanita Curry.
No.
Anthony Ede.
No.
Brittany Kellum.
No.
Rhonda Lang.
Yes.
Steve Lett.
No.
Cynthia Orton.
No.
MC Rothhorn.
No.
Rebecca Zotella.
Yes.
Janice Villette.
No.
And I'll return to Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Weiss, if you're present, can you indicate your vote?
Yes.
Confirming your vote was yes.
That is correct.
Thank you. By a vote of 4 yes to 8 no, the motion does not carry.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. The nays have it, and the motion fails. Next on our agenda is unfinished business agenda item 5B, fiscal year 23 revised budget. Without objection, I will ask MICRC Executive Director Edward Woods III to present this item. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Let me go ahead and share my screen. If you're able to see it, just nod your head and say yes. That would be helpful to me to know that you can see it. All right, great. All right, if you look at our far right column, we had some, it is not increasing the budget, just so we're clear. We're just moving some money as relates to expenses. Once again, we're not increasing the budget. The budget appropriation for fiscal year 2023 is $3,170,000. That stayed the same. But we've had some things that we needed to do. Our travel budget, we're looking to reduce from $9,000 to $4,000 with regards to that. Our meeting budget, we're looking to reduce from $12,000 to $7,500. Our cell phone will stay the same. Our technology and computers will stay the same. Staff salaries will stay the same. We did have copying expenses with regards to the map booklets, the congressional district maps, the state house maps, the state rep maps, the lessons learned, and then the county maps. And so we need to move to cover those costs. So that would be a $7,000. As you know, we did hire Lisa Hanley to provide assistance for our court cases. And so our estimate of $50,000 has increased, and we're moving $100,000 there from $50,000 to $150,000. Our legal bills for litigation will decrease from $2 million to $1,925,000. We have a $1,000 decrease for local counsel, a $10,000 decrease for our voting rights that we budgeted for, and then we will have $5,000 for our professional services, which helps us with our financial records. Our commission salaries will stay the same, and then our office supplies will go from $3,825 to $2,500. So once again, this is a revised budget to accommodate the expenses known and unknown as relates to this fiscal year. Once again, it does not change, I repeat, it does not change the total amount that was approved of $3,170,000. If there's any questions, Mr. Chair, I can take them at this time.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have questions? If none, can I get a motion to approve that budget, please?
So moved.
I got a motion by Commissioner Lett to approve it. Do I have a second? A second by Commissioner Curry. Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes prevail. The motion is adopted. And we will move on to new business. Next on our agenda is new business item, agenda item 6A, legal representation individually and collectively. Without objection, I will ask our MICRC General and Local Counsel, Nate Fink, to present. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Fink.
Thank you, Chair Clark, and good morning, all. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you. We were asked to provide a legal opinion on whether the Constitution, the Michigan Constitution, requires the commission to cover the cost of retaining personal counsel for individual commissioners in the AG case. While the commissioners have been named individually, well, you have been named individually in that case, you have not been sued in your personal capacity, but rather in your official capacity. The U.S. Supreme Court and frankly, a number of other state and federal courts have made very clear that suits against public officials in their official capacities are, in effect, suits against the entity that the officials are a member of. And it's not a suit against the individual in their personal capacity, unless explicitly stated otherwise. in the complaint that's filed. And additionally, the Michigan Constitution gives the commission, not individual commissioners, the authority to, and I'm quoting from the Constitution, defend any action regarding an adopted plan. And then that's the end of the quote. And to obtain funding for that purpose. There's nothing that we can see in the Michigan Constitution that would require the commission to fund personal counsel for individual commissioners in the AG case. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that commissioners may have. Thank you for the opportunity to present that, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fink. Commissioners Zatella, since you brought this issue forward, do you have any comments?
Yeah, it seems like there's some inconsistency here because for everybody who's not a lawyer, the term filing an appearance means that the lawyer has stepped forward in front of the court and said they are representing you as an attorney. So when I'm talking about appearance, I'm just saying that that is what Baker Hostetler and Fink Bresic has done. And they have done that on behalf of individual commissioners. So currently, Baker Hostetler and Fink Bresic are representing the commission as a whole, and then they are also individually representing individual commissioners. And those fees have been consistently and entirely covered by the commission. My concern is when I met with Baker Hostetler, and I know other commissioners have experienced the same thing, I was told point blank that Baker Hostetler did not represent me, despite the fact that they have filed an appearance on my behalf. So, and it also seems like some of the arguments that are being presented are frankly inconsistent with factual statements that I provided to Baker Hostetler. So it seems that there's a conflict of interest in the first place. So the remedy for that should be either Baker Hostetler within their own firm spins off the current group representing the commission and assigns me my own counsel, or I get my own counsel myself. And the same would be true for other members of the commission who are also experiencing that same tension where they're basically being told the person who's representing them isn't representing them. So that's kind of where this is coming from, is that direction that I received from Baker Hostetler that they don't represent me, yet they are filing documents on my behalf as a individual commissioner in front of the AG court. And so I'm just trying to reconcile what you're saying, because the state has been paying for our individual legal expenses as part of the defense of the AG case. So why would it be any different if I say, hey, you know what, it looks like there's a pretty obvious conflict of interest here at this point, and that I should have someone else other than Kate representing my individual interest as a defendant as part of the commission.
Nate, do you have any comments relative to that?
Well, I think we've made our opinion clear. It's been provided in writing and also today. I've stated it. Both the Michigan Constitution and the case law is clear that when members of a governing body are sued in their official capacities, it's in effect a suit against the entity itself, and the individual commissioners are not facing personal exposure related to this. And frankly, this is an issue that comes up very frequently in the context of litigation involving governmental entities. You can think of any number of analogous circumstances when a governing body takes a particular action, perhaps gets sued related to that action. There may have been members of that particular governing body that had not voted to support that. I'm not aware of any law that would allow or would require those governing bodies to fund the separate personal counsel for the particular individuals or members of that body who didn't support the action that they're being sued about. I'm happy to review some kind of law that would support that, but from our reading of all of the case law and the Constitution, we don't see an obligation of the commission to fund personal counsel for one or any number of individual commissioners who may not agree with the ultimate decision that was made by this commission in a majority vote to pass these maps and defend them.
So again, what I'm struggling with, Nate, is the commission has been funding personal counsel for commissioners to date. Every single one of us has a appearance by Baker Hostetler and Fink Bresic filed on our behalf, and nobody has been writing out checks to Baker Hostetler or Fink Bresic for those expenses. So that's what I'm struggling with, is the inconsistency. You're saying the commission doesn't have an obligation to fund it. Okay, maybe that's true, but historically the commission has been funding it for well over a year. So there's a real inconsistency there, because you're saying, well, we're going to fund it as long as it's going to, no offense, personally benefit Fink Bresic and personally benefit Baker Hostetler, but when it's another attorney that might be benefiting, suddenly it's an issue. It just seems honestly a little self-serving and a little inconsistent for this commission to be advised to take that position when they have been paying the individual legal fees all along. None of us have been writing checks to Baker Hostetler.
Commissioner Lett, do you have a comment?
Yes, having reviewed all of the legal bills that come in from both Baker and from Fink, they are not setting out in separate amounts any fees for a individual commissioner or for all of the commissioners. The bills are coming in and they're billing based upon their representation of the commission. I think procedurally, obviously, and I think at least the attorneys realize that if you're named on a complaint, you're going to have some type of appearance by whatever attorneys or whoever attorneys are representing, and in this instance, the commission. So the attorneys have, in fact, appeared for the commission and the commissioner since everybody was named on the complaint. But they're not billing us individually. They're not billing the commission individually for each commissioner. They're billing the commission as a whole, which is exactly what Nate has indicated.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. Do I have any other comments from the other commissioners? Commissioner Curry?
Yes, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Lett. I mean, it's very clear that they're representing all of us as an entity, one person, as a whole. And so I agree with Commissioner Lett. I don't take it as something that they're separately doing to different, because our names are listed. We're one total entity and they're representing us.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry. Any other comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner Lang.
I have to say that in listening to the argument about getting individual attorneys or having an attorney represent us in an individual capacity, that's exactly what I was told by Fink when I asked for an update on the court cases. I submitted and said I would like an update on how the case is going. No offense, but I don't always feel that I get all of the information that I need or want from the liaison updates. So I actually asked if I could be briefed on that, and I received an email telling me that I could get my own attorney. So to say that we're being represented as one, I feel like maybe we're being represented as a commission as a whole, but I don't think the whole commission is being treated the same. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Commissioner Eid. I'll get to you, Commissioner Sotelo, in a minute. Commissioner Eid.
Thank you.
Yes, hello. The only thing I have to say is that I have complete support in our legal team to defend the commission as it sees best. I think they've done a great job so far. And I want them to know that, at least from this commissioner, I appreciate the work that they do and think they're doing a great job.
Thank you, Commissioner Eid. Commissioner Sotelo, you have another comment?
I'm going to make a motion at this point, even though I know you guys are going to vote it down. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm firing Baker Hostetler and Fink Bresic as my individual attorney. You guys aren't going to be able to stop me from doing that. But I am going to make a motion that the commission approve allowing individual commissioners to choose alternative counsel in the defense of the AG case if they so choose.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Zatella. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Lang. Do you have another comment, Commissioner Reed?
Yeah, I thought the issue wasn't that whether commissioners can hire their own lawyers. I'm pretty sure that any one of us can if we want. I think the issue is who pays for it. Correct? Does the commission pay for it, or do the individual commissioners who want their own legal representation pay for it? So it might be good to state that if that is the issue, it might not be, but that's my understanding of it.
No, that's the issue. So to clarify, that the commission will fund the defense of the individual defendants in the AG case if they so choose to choose alternative counsel.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Zatella. Commissioner Lay, you have a comment? No? Commissioner Orton?
Yeah, so my thought is, of course, we can hire our own lawyers if we want, but ultimately it would be the taxpayers paying for each individual's lawyer if we approve this. And the taxpayers voted for this amendment for maps to be redrawn by a commission. So it makes sense that the legal fees for the legal team to defend the maps of the commission, that makes sense that that comes out of our budget. But it doesn't make sense that everyone can get their own individual lawyer and that the taxpayers have to pay for that.
Commissioner Curry, do you have a comment? Commissioner Curry?
Yes, I'm picking up in my, like somewhere I'm picking up that it's an override of because I can't get my way, I'm going to fight everything that I see in my way. And I think you're taking the commission to a place that we don't want to go. This is unnecessary. It's not, it doesn't make sense what you're saying. They cannot sue an individual person. And with that, we ought to leave it alone. I think it's causing more problems, more misunderstandings. It's going to look like, it seems as though attorneys do not even understand the law. You went to school all these years and you don't even understand the law. It doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry. Yeah, Commissioner Zatella, go ahead.
So I don't appreciate being told that I'm basically not a good lawyer and I don't know what I'm talking about by Commissioner Curry. You're welcome to disagree.
You did not know what you was talking about.
That is what you're saying. That is what you're saying.
Well,
that is what you're saying.
You've been interpreting everything backwards for the past couple of weeks or months. So
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
You keep trying to take people to the grind. Why don't you cooperate? We came together, and because you couldn't get your way, you act like a spoiled child.
Again, Commissioner Carr, could you please caution Commissioner Curry about not engaging in personal tax?
Let's work together. We're not trying to.
Commissioner Curry.
Commissioner Curry. Order.
Commissioner Curry, we need to not take personal attacks on people. All right. Any other comments? I've got one. Okay. Could you read before I comment, could you read the motion back, Ms. Reinhardt?
Certainly. The motion was to approve or allow individual commissioners to choose individual counsel for the AG case if they so choose, which would be funded by the commission.
I have my comments are, I have a personal problem with that. And that issue is we don't know what the dollars are. Every other time we've gone forward and hired a contractor that we paid for, We go through purchasing. We get a purchase order, which defines the cost. It defines the terms and the conditions, and we don't have any of that information. And we need to issue a purchase order if we're going to do this sort of thing. And I think we're way ahead of ourselves in approving expenditures when we don't even know what that's going to be. I think we're putting ourselves in a bad business situation. And it's detrimental not only to us, but to the citizens of Michigan. Okay,
So,
Mr. Fink.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioners, I don't know if Commissioner Zatella was saying something here, but the only thing I just wanted to add one thing, which is certain commissioners, of course, have filed dissenting reports and did not vote for all of the maps. And I just want to reiterate that the constitutional amendment which created this body says that the commission has the constitutional authority to defend any action regarding an adopted plan and to obtain funding for that purpose. Just as I discussed with the analogy to other governing bodies, I don't see any authority that would support the commission funding the dissenting commissioners' legal counsel and representation, because that would not be defending an action regarding the adopted plan. It would really be the opposite of that. And so I just focusing on the constitutional language, it just seems to me to be clear in this context that the legal opinion that we came to is that, and it is the appropriate one, which is that the commission does not have an obligation to fund personal counsel for individual commissioners. And yes, of course, individual commissioners are certainly entitled to have their own counsel if they want, but the commission is not obligated to fund it.
Thank you, Commissioner Fink. I completely agree with Mr. Fink on that. Commissioner Curry, do you have a comment?
No.
Okay.
I had another comment, Commissioner.
Go ahead,
Clark.
Commissioner Zatella.
So I am more than happy to submit a retainer agreement and a proposed budget to the commission. And if you're going to actually look at that and consider it, I'm more than happy to withdraw my motion and go ahead and do that. I already have a proposed retainer agreement. I've already spoken with multiple attorneys and I've decided on one. So, I mean, this is happening one way or another. It's just a question of who's going to pay for it. So if you want to see the documentation, I'm perfectly happy to provide that to you. Obviously, I'm going to redact out anything confidential, but I have no issue providing that, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to withdraw my motion today. I'll get you that documentation so you can look at it, and we can go from there and consider this at our next meeting.
Commissioner Zatella, I appreciate that. I think we maybe should have a vote first to see if we're willing to do the funds. And then you can.
I just withdrew the motion though, so
okay.
There's no need for
Motion's withdrawn. And are you going to table the issue?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Okay, fine. Commissioner Lett?
I make the motion that the commission not pay for any commissioner's personal retained counsel.
Do I have a second to that? Commissioner Curry seconds it. The motion was brought forward by Commissioner Lett and seconded by Commissioner Curry. Any discussion? I think we've had a lot of discussion on the subject. Okay, let's do a roll call vote then. Ms. Reinhardt, could you move forward with the roll call?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, the motion before you is that the commission will not pay for any commissioner's personally retained counsel. Please indicate your support of the motion with a yes or a no. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Doug Clark.
Yes.
Juanita Curry.
Yes.
Anthony Eid.
Yes.
Brittany Kellum.
Yes.
Rhonda Lang. Commissioner Lang, I apologize. You might still be muted. Commissioner Lang, can you hear us? Looks like we might be having technical difficulties with Commissioner Lang. I will return to you at the end of the vote. Steve Lett,
Yes.
Cynthia Orton,
Yes.
MC Rothhorn,
Yes.
Rebecca Satella,
No.
Janice Follett,
yes,
Aaron Wagner,
No.
Richard Weiss,
Yes.
and I'm returning to Commissioner Lang.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, apologies. I cut out, so could you real briefly tell me what the yes and the no is? I apologize.
Sure. The motion is that the commission will not pay for any commissioner's personally retained counsel. So a yes vote would be that the commission will not pay for personally retained counsel for individual commissioners.
Okay, no.
By a vote of 9 yes to 3 no, the motion carries.
The ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. I want to make one comment before we move on to the next agenda item. I'd like to ask the commissioners to keep all personal attacks on individuals to themselves and not present those in the meeting at all. Next on our agenda is new business agenda item 6B, Voting Rights Act media coverage. Without objection, I will ask Voting Rights Act legal counsel Bruce Adelson to present this item. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Adelson, and it's great to have you back again with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is great to see you all again today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to discuss on this important point. Couple of things, excuse me. In various aspects of what I do, whether it's teaching, being a lawyer, or the other aspects of my professional life, I see all kinds of information that sometimes is incomplete, or I get questions whether or not the information is accurate. It's not surprisingly that particularly today, with all of the court cases that have been going on, in fact, yesterday with the new court decision about therapeutic abortions, they're just like nonstop court cases. So I have read many different views and opinions about the Supreme Court's Voting Rights Act decision in the past term, in this case called the Allen versus Merrill case. Those are consolidated cases. So there has been some information that I've seen that has been incomplete or inaccurate. So today I wanted to take the opportunity to give a general overview of the Supreme Court case and show you how the actual meaning of the case, the holding of the case, is often very different from what's being portrayed either on social media, online, in other aspects, or in conventional media. And I think that to use the words of the court, I think, are always best. That in this case is basically a status quo case. It really didn't change the existing Voting Rights Act law for the most part. And the main area that it did, I'll talk about, but the court said the heart of these cases is not about what law exists today. It is about the state of Alabama's attempt to remake Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and remake the court's jurisprudence. That's essentially what this case is all about. There were concerns, excuse me, that the court would overturn Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act or somehow weaken it or alter its composition. The court didn't do that. Alabama put forward a very vigorous defense, which they're currently litigating in the trial court right now to this case. And Alabama raised several arguments about proposed changes that the court, for example, reversed Thornburg versus Jingles, which, as you know, we talked about 2 years ago, as setting up a three-pronged test, three preconditions to evaluate whether a redistricting plan is discriminatory. Alabama wanted the Supreme Court to throw that case out. The Supreme Court said no. Alabama said that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional under the 15th Amendment. Supreme Court said no. Without going through all the arguments, I think that's an important point. And going back to what the court said, the heart of this case is Alabama's attempt to remake Section 2, both court decisions and the language of the statute. Now, let's talk a little bit about what the court did say regarding the Thornburg versus Jingles decision that was about 37 years ago. In that case, with the three preconditions, the court reaffirmed them and held that our holding in Thornburg is reinvigorated. It is still the law of the land. It is still how we investigate these cases. And I think there's some important information there, as well as in the trial court record, about what this case says about the Voting Rights Act. I've spent a lot of time looking at the lower court record, the transcripts, the maps, the expert opinions, and the court's opinions. And in that case, the lower court case, the lower court is currently rehearing this case after the Supreme Court kicked it back to them. In that case, the court said, and even the expert of Alabama said, that in the majority of elections, Black preferred candidates lose. In the majority, that's the state's expert. The experts also found that regarding Black preferred candidates, that Black voters support the same candidate in each election more than 92% of the time, while white voters support Black preferred candidates about 15% of the time. That's a big disparity, very suggestive of significant racially polarized voting. That's at that rate. I've seen that polarization in other parts of the country and other redistrictings that I've done, and that is about as stark as you can get. So that, remember that in the Jingles case, the three preconditions are, is the minority community big enough to form a majority in a single member district? That's one. Two, do minority voters vote for the same candidate? Do they vote cohesively? And three, does the white majority vote as a block, usually to prevent Black voters or minority voters from electing candidates of their choice? So in the Allen case and in the lower court combined cases, there was overwhelming evidence that Black preferred candidates don't win. And there is significant racially polarized voting. And one thing that struck me that I remember very well in reading the court's opinion on one of the expert reports, one of the experts analyzed 13 elections. As you know, there have been all kinds of elections that have been analyzed in Michigan with your redistricting that Dr. Handley did, and there are other experts that have been retained in the current case. In the Alabama case, there's one particular expert who analyzed 13 dispositive elections. 13. In those elections, Black preferred candidates never won. That means they lost every single election, while white preferred candidates won. Admittedly, math was never my strong suit in high school, but I was pretty good at math in elementary school. That's a pretty stark distinction and says an awful lot. So I think that the importance, the salience of analysis that we've talked about an awful lot was reaffirmed by the Supreme Court in this case. The court did hold that racially polarized voting analysis must be used to reveal whether or not a redistricting plan is discriminatory under the Voting Rights Act. And that's where all these numbers come from, that Black voters lost 13 of 13 elections, that white voters overwhelmingly voted to oppose Black preferred candidates. So that's pretty stark. And as you know, what the analysis revealed in Michigan. And I think that one of the other points that I think was very interesting about this case, the court made some very strong remarks about the use of computer-generated maps in redistricting, that the experts generated literally millions of maps, millions of alternatives. And the state of Alabama said essentially that these maps show that creating an additional district in which Black voters can elect candidates of choice is clear because the maps don't support that. The Supreme Court said, and I highlighted this in the opinion because I think it's really important. Court said, how many maps do we need? How are courts supposed to decide this issue? The court said that the numbers of maps that could be generated in Alabama is at least in the trillions. And they used the word that, frankly, I've never heard before, Googles, which many of you may know or may not know. That means you take the number 1 and put 100 zeros after the 1. So the court is saying you could produce that number of maps, which to me, frankly, is something that is beyond my comprehension. With all of those maps, court said that still doesn't tell us what to decide, how to decide, describing that as this is an answerless question. So that creating all these algorithms and creating millions, trillions and trillions in Googles of maps doesn't decide the case. The court said that held that courts should exercise caution before treating results produced by all these algorithms and alternative maps with care. They're not dispositive. They don't prove a Section 2 violation. In evaluating this evidence more generally, courts should be attentive to the concerns that the Supreme Court raised in this Allen case. So essentially, the court said Section 2 cannot require courts to judge a contest of computers when there is no reliable way to determine who wins or even where the finish line is. So very strong holding by the court, which is not something I didn't expect the court to go as far as it did. But I guess when you use trillions of maps and the word Google, when you're talking about large numbers, that speaks to a point of what the court said. The maps aren't going to do it, that there's other proof, racially polarized voting and election analysis that's needed. So I wanted to clarify that this case is basically a status quo case about Section 2. Really doesn't change Section 2. It doesn't overrule Thornburg versus Jingles. It doesn't remove all the tests that we talked about 2 years ago and that you used during mapping. So it is something that as an attorney and as a professor, I take very seriously what information is out there that either my clients, my students, or others are reading. I'm always very concerned if I think the information is incomplete or inaccurate. So that's why it was a pleasure for me to come and talk with you today, and that I had the opportunity to do so. Of course, it is a pleasure to see you all. I don't think I've been to a meeting in 2 years, year and a half. I was trying to remember. I can't remember. But it is a pleasure to see all of you. And Mr. Chair, that's my summary of my general description of the Alabama Supreme Court voting rights case.
Thank you, Mr. Adelson. I appreciate it. Commissioner Reed, you have a question.
Yes. Thank you for being here today, Bruce. It's always nice to hear from world-class experts such as yourself. I'm wondering if you might be able to comment on how that situation in Alabama compares or contrasts to what we have in Michigan for information purposes. I know you might not be able to get into specifics, but maybe you can speak generally to, similarities or differences between the electorate in both states.
Well, I'm not going to make specific comments that are currently being litigated, but what I will say is what I mentioned earlier about the percentages of white voters and Black voters supporting Black preferred candidates in Michigan. Very stark difference. I will leave it up to you to look at the plethora of information that's out there in Michigan to determine what the difference is. I believe demographically, according to the census, that the Black population in Alabama is higher than it is in Michigan. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I am mostly sure that it is higher. So I will defer to the analysis that's out there and to the documents and pleadings that have been filed in the current litigation as well as this Michigan Supreme Court litigations, without getting into specifics, and defer to you, defer to that information, because it frankly it's all there. And the number that I think is among the most important, 13 elections analyzed in Alabama. Of those 13 elections, Black preferred candidates won 0. With all the redistricting that I've done over the last 20 years, it is rare that I've seen something like that. That's why I remember it so clearly, because it really smacked me in the face as being highly probative.
Commissioner Rothorn, you have a comment?
I just wanted to say thanks again, Bruce. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time we saw you, baseball had different rules. And so I just wanted to say that sometimes rules do change, but just not on this status. So
well, Commissioner Rothorn, I very much appreciate that. You have opened the door for me to say, as we are closing in on the end of baseball season, I am, of course, with being a Yankees fan, having a fair amount of agita about the way the season has gone. However, I will say that I have had the opportunity to go to some ball games this year, and I did make a very quick trip to Michigan to meet with a client earlier this year, and my client surprised me with tickets to a Tigers game. So she knows that I very much enjoy Comerica Park. It was one of those come in late, leave first light in the morning. So I very much appreciate what you said, and I look forward to perhaps, Mr. Chair, having a meeting where we can talk about the new rules of Major League Baseball.
Are there any other comments for Mr. Adelson?
I'm sorry you had to suffer through a Tigers game.
Commissioner Zatella, do you have a comment?
You know, it's the moment. It's the moment. And we had a great time. Thank you.
Commissioner Lang, do you have a comment?
No comment.
Okay, Commissioner Kellum, do you have a comment? Okay, it doesn't
No
appear to
comment.
be any other, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Commissioner
No
Kellum?
comment, Commissioner
Okay,
Clark.
thank you. Well, we want to thank you very much, Mr. Adelson, and join us anytime. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is always a pleasure to be with you and to see you all. And thank you for your gracious invitation.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the new business item 6C, fiscal year 23 financial report for July. Without objection, I will ask MICRC Executive Director Edward Woods III to present this item. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Up on our screen, very much. You see the report for July. It's pretty standard report that we have. Our first item deals with travel costs. Then we have our facility meetings. The $792 is an estimate for our phone. We did get that yesterday, so we'll process it. The $99.20 for July usually comes on the end of the next month, which would be this month. That's an estimate. Salaries, the $5,000, I did reach out and heard from Mr. Brace. He's on vacation. He estimated that the bills for both June and July would be $4,000. I went $5,000 just in case, just as an estimate, but we will be getting those invoices here shortly. Then you see the amount for Baker Hostetler for the month of July, the amount for Fink Brustick for the month of July, and then the next amount is for our Voting Rights Act Council at $1,569.38, and then our financial services at $293. Then our commission at $53,000, and then our office supplies. So total amount spent in July was $135,981.33, noting those estimates. And so that is the financial report for the month of July. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time.
Any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Arden?
Yeah, I have a question, Edward. I understand that our legal team is working right now on our behalf, but can you explain what our mapping consultants are doing that for, I mean,
Sure.
they have a line item, but I don't know what they're doing.
I don't have their invoices, but they're saying most of their cost is preparing for the legal cases in terms of reading requests from the attorneys.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, I see none. Commissioner Zatella? Do I have any questions from you or Commissioner Kellum?
No, Commissioner Clark, I'll raise my hand if I have a question, but thank you for being considerate.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budget financial report for July?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve it by Commissioner Lett. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Rothorn. Is there any more discussion on or debate on the motion? Okay. Let's take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. Next on our agenda is new business item, agenda item 6D, fiscal year 24 proposed budget review. Without objection, I will ask MICRC Executive Director Edward Woods III to present. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Once again, this is the proposed budget for fiscal year 24 that starts October 1, 2023 and ends September 30th, 2024. As you know, we get 25% of the Michigan Department of State General Fund General Purpose, and that amount is $3,331,200. Salaries are basically $745,000. They're basically the same. No changes there. Travel cost is $10,000. We're not sure if we're going to have to go to court, if people will be testifying with regards to the court case. We're just not sure about that. So we just wanted to make sure we had an adequate amount. Obviously, if we do not spend the amount, as in past years, we return it back to the legislature. $33,000 is basically for technology. We have $10,000 for meetings that we have at this time. $2,530,000. That's the bulk of that amount. The bulk of the amount is really going to contracts for consultants, our litigation counsel, our local counsel, line drawing, voting rights, and our professional services. So that's where the bulk of the money is going. No advertising or promotion, and then office supplies, $3,200. And that gives us a grand total of $3,331,200. Once again, if we do not spend it, we do return it, but just wanted to plan for contingencies, not knowing what may happen. And if it does become necessary, as we did with fiscal year 23, we can always come back and provide a revised budget for fiscal year 24. Commissioner Clark, that concludes my presentation. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time.
Okay, are there any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Lang or Commissioner Zatella, do you have a question? Okay, there are no questions. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Lett and a second by Commissioner Eid. Okay, is there any more discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. Next on our agenda is new business, agenda item 6E, National Redistricting Commission's Conference. Without objection, I will ask our Executive Director to present. I will add my remarks after he speaks. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Individual commissioners received an invitation for the National Redistricting Commission Conference in Los Angeles on December 12th for a one-day event. I did reach out to the planning committee, to the person that provided the invitation, because I did not receive any information. I also tried to follow up locally here in Michigan and was unsuccessful in reaching the contact person. But the information that we received was from the planner was discuss lessons learned and best practices and identify ways to improve public participation, fairness, and transparency. They invited commissioners from Arizona, California, Colorado, and Michigan. So there will be a focus, I repeat, a focus on state commissions only. I did ask, were they looking at city? Were they looking at county? And they said, no, the focus is on statewide independent commissions. There's an option to attend in person or virtual. Once again, there's an option to attend in person or virtual. And I'm recommending that we look at virtual attendance because it's really only a one-day event. Things are still in motion as of yet, but we look at cost and public in terms of what's expected of us as a commission. I just think it would be prudent if the commission would consider attending virtually and not having any expenses to the taxpayers. Having said that, that is just my recommendation to you as a commission. You can do as you so choose. That concludes my presentation, Commissioner Clark. We'll turn it back over to you for comment.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. While I was in California, I happened to meet one of the California representatives on their commission. She's in the same town as I was, and we met up for a couple hours and had a discussion on different things. And one of the things we did discuss is this commission's conference, the National Redistricting Commission's conference. This is not an official statement, but what she told me was that the California Commission would allow 2 people to go. Of course, they're local. They would allow 2 people to go, and anything over 2 would be an open meeting, and they would have to treat it as such. It was undetermined because nobody knew the details behind it at that point in time, how they were going to pay for it, if at all, or if any of them were going to attend. So I thought I'd bring that up to you. The information I've gotten about the conference is it is a one-day event. It is there's going to be a dinner the night before, and then the following day there'll be the all-day meeting, which will also not only include commissioners from those 4 states, but include other guests that will be invited. And the agenda of the meeting has not been published at this point in time. And then it will end at the end of that day. And so we're basically looking at, if people attend, you're really looking at a minimum of 2 days in a hotel as well. I also have the same recommendation as Executive Director Woods, is that we as a commission, for those that want to attend, can attend by Zoom. We've been told that Zoom is going to be an option and will be available to us. We currently do not have any money in the budget for fiscal year 24 for this sort of thing. Given that we've already presented our deliverables in their final stages of being in the court, I personally don't see the benefit of any of us traveling out there to attend the meeting personally, although you can at your expense. That is available to anybody to do that. So I would at this point like to put forward a motion that that we attend the meeting by Zoom from whatever location is appropriate. And at that point in time, there'll be no cost to us and for the budget. It's no different than any of these other meetings that we have. Because we have all our meetings by Zoom at this point. And if people elect to go out and be there in person, they can do that. And the expense will be theirs to handle at that point in time. So anyways, the
I have a
motion.
question.
Yeah, let me finish. The motion is that we as a commission, as the commission paying the expense that we restricted to Zoom, to a Zoom meeting. So the question is from, was that you, Rhonda?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, first, let me put out there.
We have a motion, so
sorry.
I think it has to be seconded before we discuss.
Yeah, Commissioner. Commissioner Orton?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second on the motion. Go ahead, Commissioner Lang.
Okay, first I'm going to put out there that I will not be attending. The organization does a lot of lobbying, and so I will not be attending. But second, my concern would be if there are 9 commissioners that decide to attend, whether it be via Zoom or in person at their own expense or whatever, would that not constitute a quorum?
Can I have Mr. Brady respond to that, please? I don't know if Mike's available. He is online. Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. It's been a while.
Yes, Mike, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay, I appreciate the question. I think what immediately comes to mind is under the Open Meetings Act, which of course this commission is not subject to. But the Open Meetings Act does provide some exceptions to there being, a meeting from quorum purposes for professional development or conferences, so long as there's no action taken at the meeting and no deliberation taken at the meeting. And so in a certain regard, I don't know, I think one of you hosted a barbecue that I was invited to, was unable to attend, maybe last summer, the summer before. I don't know that, there were 9 commissioners there or not, but the reason that was okay was because there's not going to be any formal deliberation on the work of the commission, nor was there going to be any action taken by the commission. And so in the same way, I don't know anything about this conference really, other than what's been presented on this call. But the idea that, there's a virtual conference with, potentially, it's a national thing, it appears, right? It seems like there'd be hundreds of people you're calling in virtually. So it doesn't even allow you really the same kind of opportunity to, talk over lunch or something that you don't otherwise have any other time. So I think those are the things that would, guide my thoughts there. I know that, again, while the AG's office in its written opinion and the Michigan Supreme Court has opined that this commission is not subject to laws created by the legislature because of its independent nature and as a constitutional body, OMA is not controlling. I also recall, I believe that your rules of operation were inspired by the Open Meetings Act and some of the standards that were created there. They make departures in other areas as well. So that would be the thing that we think we just kind of look at along those lines.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, to me, this falls, if this were any other group or a business, I think it would fall under professionalism development. which is something that I think we honestly should foster and put some funds behind. How much is this conference costing to attend?
That's undetermined at this point.
Is there, usually for conferences, there's a fee just to get a ticket.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have any of the detailed information at this point in time.
Okay.
Excuse me, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner E, there's no hotel that's been reserved in terms of discounts. They did mention they would waive the fee. Obviously, there'll be plane tickets, there would be per diem, there would be costs if there's parking at the hotel. There would also be costs associated with getting you more than likely from LAX airport to there with regards to that. So it's just estimates. And when they confirm whether or not the fee will be waived, we'll know that. But they're still in the planning process as it relates to that right now.
Well, if the actual conference fee is to be waived, supposedly, and the cost is just to cover travel, I do think we should set aside some funds for professional development and give this commission a chance to tell our story. We've been a pretty successful commission. We did enact maps into law, fair maps. By many measures, they're some of the most fair maps that on a congressional level this country's ever seen, and on a state level that the state's ever seen. And I think that we might have a little bit of a responsibility to tell that story and tell about our successes. And also, I think we would take back information from the folks that are attending to make us better commissioners. So I would be in support of having some funds to cover the travel of a couple commissioners who might want to go.
We have a motion on the table at this point. Commissioner Wagner, you have a comment?
Yes, I do. My question is this: what if we are disbanded by the time this all takes place? Commission's like defunct and we're in limbo. Personally, I think if commissioner wants to attend, it should come out of their own pocket. Because otherwise, what are we going to do? Reconvene to attend the conference in California or whatever? Anyway, that was my comment.
I agree with you, Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Horton?
Oh, I thought maybe you weren't seeing my hand because anyway, so my opinion is that if people want to attend, they could, I suppose. I think Mike Brady's explanation showed that we don't have to worry about a quorum or anything, but I think we have already delivered our deliverables, like Doug says, and we don't need to develop our, professionally develop as commissioners. We've already done our work. We're just in litigation right now. So I don't see a reason to go for that reason. And I really don't agree with taxpayers paying for anyone to travel to LA to attend this, especially when a virtual option is available.
Thank you, Commissioner Horton. Commissioner Zatella, you have a comment?
Yeah, I basically am just going to echo what Commissioner Orton said. I mean, typically professional development is you're taking an educational component of something to help you do a better job. So like when we had the Zoom meeting about where we did redistricting in Ohio to learn how to draw maps. I mean, that's professional development. It's teaching you how to do your job better. That's not what this is. And if someone wants to go to it, that's fine. But if they want to fly out there, then that should absolutely be on their own dime, because this is not professional development to begin with. It's really just kind of a bragging tour. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Zatella. Are there any other comments? Okay.
I do have a quick comment, Commissioner
Yes,
Clark.
Commissioner Kellum.
So, I mean, I'm fine with however this goes, but this is just for the sake of conversation. I think I do agree that this would be professional development. Now, if other people obviously, don't agree with that statement, that's totally fine. But I think just the comment of, we drew the maps and we did a good job and it's fine. I think sometimes as a commission, there are very limited views of what that job is. And we are still a commission that our decisions with those good maps, as said, it still has an impact on the community. So I just a little anecdotal statement of considering our jobs to be and our duty to be a little bit deeper than just map drawers, especially the amount of listening, and maybe that's just my line of work, but the amount of consideration that we were supposed to give people, our job isn't done. And maybe that thinking of our job being done is some of the attitudes and reflections that we've heard during the meeting. We are still professionals, we're still a body, we are still duty to listen to those that call in and provide public comments. So this isn't just something that any of us just did, I would hope. So if folks, I know that because we're a conservative group, I know that no one is going to support going to LA, and that's considered gallivanting or wasteful. But in many other professional settings, anything that is going to both grow a person and grow thought leadership, which we are all in charge of doing, and I think that we're intelligent in our own rights, right? This would perfectly fit in line. Now, do we have the money? Are we worried about what taxpayers will say? Of course, this is this group, but LA would be a wonderful opportunity to share knowledge and still learn as human beings. Thank you, Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Commissioner Kellum. Commissioner E, you have another comment? I can't hear you, Commissioner Reed.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say it's wasteful. I think there is a real benefit to being somewhere in person. You can take a lot from being at a conference such as this in person that you can't take from being virtual, from the different amounts of interpersonal development that may happen, from the conversations that may take place, and really, as Commissioner Kellum just said, from the learning and the sharing of knowledge, which is what I would view as, the whole point to going. So I know we have a motion on the table. I'd like to amend that motion to have it say virtually or in person.
And is that motion include having the commission pay for it?
I think we should set aside funds for, we can decide who at a later time, but I'd say, probably it would be smart to have one commissioner of each pool attend in person. So I'll say that.
Okay. Do we have a second to that amendment? I'm seeing no second at this point.
Okay, then.
We do not have a second. Okay. All right.
Sorry, Commissioner Clark, I second the amendment.
We have a second from Commissioner Kellum. Okay. So we need to vote. I think we first vote on the amendment. And I think we'll take a roll call vote on this as well. Ms. Reinhardt, if we could do that, I'd appreciate it. Commissioner Wagner, you have a comment?
Yes, Sarah, can you please repeat the motion before we all vote on it?
Yes. This is we're going to vote on the amendment first, Commissioner Wagner. Okay.
Absolutely, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, it's raining and the rain is a little loud, so I put it in my headphones. Just want to make sure you can hear me. One clarifying question I would have with to Commissioner Eid, who made the motion. You had mentioned, or Commissioner Clark had asked if you intended to include in the motion that the sending of the 3 commissioners, one from each affiliation pool, would be paid for by the commission. Was that also part of your motion?
Yes, travel costs specifically.
Great. Okay. Okay, in that case, the motion was, well, the original motion was for the commission to attend the National Redistricting Conference virtually. And the motion to amend, which we will be voting on now, made by Commissioner Eid and supported by Commissioner Kellum, was to amend the original motion to say commissioners may attend virtually with one commissioner from each pool, affiliation pool, attending the conference in person with travel costs paid for from the commission budget. Is that clear for everyone? So this motion would be the motion to amend the original motion. So please state your support for amending the original motion with a yes or a no. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Juanita Curry.
I would probably have something to say before I voted. I need to make a statement or put in another motion.
I'll direct that decision to the chair if he will allow it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the comment.
I just think that if we're going to take a vote, it should not be limited to just 1 or 2 or 3 people going from each 1 or 2 or 3 people going, but that if we're going to vote, those that want to go, let them go, and those that don't want to go should not be able to go. That's the way I would like to vote.
Well, I don't believe the motion has anything to do with how many people go. So it's potentially 13 people could go.
I thought I was under the understanding that 1 from each Democrat, Republican, or whatever would be able to go. Is that, maybe I'm not understanding.
13 of us, and I believe the motion's the way it's stated, it's all 13 could go if they wanted.
So Commissioner Curry, the way that the motion to amend is phrased right now is that commissioners will attend virtually and that 1 commissioner from each affiliation pool, so a total of 3 commissioners, could attend in person with their travel costs paid for by the commission.
And that's
what
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
The motion to amend, that would be the yes or the no vote. And then Commissioner Curry, if you believe that the original motion should be phrased differently, you're welcome at the conclusion of this vote to make an additional motion to amend if that's what you would like to do. But right now we're taking the vote on this particular motion to amend.
Okay.
So we would need a yes or a no.
No.
Thank you. Anthony Eade.
Yes.
Brittany Kellum.
Yes.
Rhonda Lang.
No.
Steve Lett.
Steve, we can't hear you.
No.
Cynthia Orton.
No.
MC Rothorn.
No.
Rebecca Satella.
No.
Janice Follett.
No.
Aaron Wagner.
No.
Richard Weiss.
No.
Doug Clark.
No.
By a vote of 2 yes and 10 no, the motion does not carry.
Okay. So let's move on to the original motion and do a roll call vote on the original motion as well. If
Absolutely.
you could read the, let's do this as a roll call as well. And if you could read the motion back, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly. The motion was to attend the National Redistricting Commissioners Conference virtually. And I see Commissioner Lett has a hand raised.
Commissioner Lett, do you have an comment?
Yeah, Doug, is this your motion that the commissioners can, if they choose to participate virtually, they can do so? Or is this your intent that it would be a mandatory meeting that all the commissioners would participate in?
It's not mandatory. No, not at all. And then they all always have the option of going to the meeting in person and paying for it out of their own pocket.
Thank you.
Yes. And go ahead and proceed with the roll call vote.
I believe Commissioner Orton has a hand raised as well.
Commissioner Orton.
Sorry, but just for clarification, I wonder if I could make an amendment that for this National Redistricting Commission's conference, attendance is voluntary, but the commission will not be paying any costs. Does that clarify?
I'll
No.
second that.
Okay.
Okay, we have an amendment by Commissioner Orton and seconded by Commissioner Satella. So let's do a roll call vote on the amendment. Ms. Reinhardt.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, the motion to amend is for the National Redistricting Commission Conference. Commissioner attendance is voluntary, and the commission will not pay for travel costs for commissioners to attend in person.
Commissioner Lett?
Point of clarification,
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you. It's not loud enough.
Give me a moment.
That's better, Commissioner Lett.
Yeah.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes.
It's like the telephone commercial. As a point of clarification, Cynthia, your amendment is to people who would want to attend personally in California. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what I mean is attendance is voluntary, whether you want to go in person or virtually, meaning we don't have to attend. We can attend if we want, but no matter how you attend, the commission's not paying anything.
All right. Thanks.
Does that make sense?
That's good.
Apologies, I'm just trying to record the motion. Okay. So to restate, the original motion was to, as a commission, attend the National Redistricting Commissioners Conference virtually. And the motion to amend, which was what we will be voting on now, is for attendance to be voluntary and for in-person attendance to not be paid for by the commission. Is that accurate? Okay, great. All right, commissioners, I will call on you in alphabetical order. Please express your support for the motion to amend with a yes or a no. I will start with Anthony Eid.
Yes.
Brittany Kellum.
I'm sorry, can you restate the motion?
Certainly.
Vacated motion.
Certainly. So this is a motion to amend the original motion. The original motion being that commissioners will attend the conference virtually. And the amendment would state that attendance at the conference is voluntary, and that if commissioners wish to attend the conference in person, they can, but that it will not be paid for by the commission.
I understood. No to the amendment.
Okay. And Rhonda just texted me that she has to step away. So I'm just going to briefly ask if she is here, if she would like to vote. Okay, Steve Lett,
Yes.
Cynthia Orton,
Yes.
MC Rothhorn,
Yes.
Rebecca Satella,
Yes.
Janice Follett,
Yes.
Aaron Wagner,
No.
Richard Weiss,
Yes.
Doug Clark,
Yes.
Juanita Curry.
No.
By a vote of 8 yes to 3 no, the motion carries.
Okay, the ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. So
That
let's,
was just the amendment, right?
that was the amendment is adopted, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. There's, Sarah, can I get a point of clarification? No, there's no reason to vote on the amendment itself, is it? Since we got the adopted, approved.
So the amendment was approved. So now the commission would need to vote to approve the motion, the main motion as amended. And I'm happy to restate that motion for
Okay, if you,
for
yes,
clarification.
please do.
Sure. So the main motion, as amended, would be that the commission will attend the National Redistricting Commissioners Conference. That attendance is optional and commissioners may attend virtually or in person, but that in-person attendance will not be paid for by the commission.
May I say something?
Go ahead, Commissioner Curry.
I just think that the way we're phrasing the question is really kind of one way or the other. To me, it's saying that you can't go because I'm saying you can't go. You need my permission to go. But I think if anybody wants to go, they can go. The question should be that you're just not going to pay the way. But I would like to, if I had to propose anything, I would like, and I'm not particularly thinking about going. I don't even care to go. But I think that the motion should be that if any of the commissioners want to go, because we have such a wonderful record and we seem to be so knowledgeable and we've got all these A+ for such a great job done, that those that do want to go should be allowed to get paid to go. I, in particular, don't care to go, but I think that as a commissioner, they want to go, I think they ought to.
I think the motion supports that point of view.
Oh, okay, great. That's good then. I thought you all were saying that they weren't going to pay them to go.
Commissioner Lett?
That's not correct. We voted on the amendment is that you can go any way you want to go, but you're going to pay for it,
Right.
period.
Right. And that's the way I understood it. That's why I said something.
Yeah. Okay, let's do roll call vote, Ms. Reinhardt.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Once more, the amended motion before the commission is that commissioners have the option to attend the National Redistricting Commissioners Conference virtually or in person, and that in-person attendance will not be paid for by the commission. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order. Please express your support of the motion with a yes or a no. I will start with Brittany Kellum.
I had a question. You said in-person attendance, but the way that I understood it is either way, the commission would not be paying for it, in person or virtual.
There's no cost virtually.
The motion, there's
Yeah.
no,
That's
there's no
correct,
payment.
Commissioner Kellum.
Okay. No.
Rhonda Lang. Steve Lett.
Yes.
Cynthia Orton.
Yes.
MC Rothhorn.
Yes.
Rebecca Sotelo.
Yeah.
Janice Follett.
yes,
Aaron Wagner.
No.
Richard Weiss.
Yes.
Doug Clark.
Yes.
Juanita Curry.
No.
Anthony Ede.
Yes.
By a vote of 8 yes to 3 no, the motion carries.
The ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. Next on our agenda is new business item, agenda item 6F, Executive Director Contract Extension. Without objection, I will present this item. Hearing no objection, I will proceed. Could we have the slide brought up on the screen, please? Okay, we got a modification to Edwards, Executive Director Edward Wood's employment contract, and it's also as part of the renewal. The items changed are those in yellow. So the first item is the initial term of the contract is October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024, or until 60 days after the MICRC goes dormant prior to September 30th, 2024, whichever occurs first. So that's one item. I think we've discussed that timing before. The next item is that's been added is paid time off. The employee shall accrue paid time off, PTOs, of 1 business day per complete month of part-time work beginning October 1st, 2023. PTO similarly accrues during extension of the initial contract term. Accrued PTO may be used as individual consecutive days off during the contract term. PTO may be used as vacation time, sick time, or to take care of personal matters. Accrued PTO does not modify the rate of pay set forth in subsection 3.1. And then also added was on holidays. The employee shall have the state observed holidays set forth as legal holidays, Public Act 124 of 1865 being MCL 435. Off with 4 hours of pay per holiday. This does not modify the rate of pay set forth in subsection 3.1. All state observed holiday paid time off shall be observed on the date set forth in state law. So those are the changes that are recommended at this point. Do we have any comments on any of those? Commissioner Lett.
Yes, I move we approve the changes as presented.
Okay, I have a motion to approve those. And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Weiss. Okay, are there any comments? Okay, no comments. Then let's move to a vote. Can we have another roll call vote, please, Ms. Reinhardt?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. The motion before the commission is to approve the changes as presented. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order. Please express your support for the motion with a yes or a no. I will start with Rhonda Lang.
No.
Steve Lett,
Yes.
Cynthia Orton,
Yes.
MC Rothhorn,
Yes.
Rebecca Zatella,
Yes.
Janice Follett,
yes,
Aaron Wagner,
Yes.
Richard Weiss,
Yes.
Doug Clark,
Yes.
Juanita Curry,
Yes.
Anthony Ede,
Yes.
Brittany Kellum.
Yes.
By a vote of 11 yes to 1 no, the motion carries.
The ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. Okay, next on the agenda is new business agenda item 6G, meeting date change for December 2023. Without objection, I will ask our executive director to present. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark, and thank you, members of the commission, for your vote and support. I want to make a suggestion that we move to change the December meeting date from Thursday, December 21 to Tuesday, December 19. Just trying to provide flexibility for holiday schedules. Schools close at different time and not sure when people want to take their vacations. As you know, it's more than just us when it comes to producing our meetings. And just want to provide some flexibility and consideration for those that help and support us. Michigan Department of State, Bethany's team and her team, our closed caption team. And it's just a lot of people that support us behind the scenes and just would like to have them have that flexibility. So it's just a 2-day difference. there's any questions, Commissioner Clark, I can take them at this time.
Yeah. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
I move we adopt that change.
Okay, I've got the motion to adopt the change by Commissioner Lett and seconded by Commissioner Weiss.
Excuse me, Commissioner Clark, just want to be clear that the time will still be the same, 10 a.m.
Yeah, time's the same. Just the dates changed 2 days earlier. Okay. So we've got a motion on the table, no comments, forward. So let's, and no discussion. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Raise your hand and say nay, please. Okay. Commissioner Zatella, what was your vote?
I said aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lang? Okay, did not.
Aye.
Okay, good. The ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. Okay. We've got, we're getting to run out of time. So I would suggest that, item 6H, which is the review the Constitution, 6I, review the Code of Conduct, 6J, review the conflict of interest, be tabled until next meeting. Any discussion on that? Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Lett,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Weiss. Okay, any comments? Okay, so let's take a vote to do that. All in favor, raise your hand.
Commissioner E
Yes,
has his hand up.
Commissioner Ede.
Do we have a hard stop time or can we go further if we choose? I think that some of these agenda items are important and putting them off.
I realize they're important. I think we have a problem with interpreters, time and so forth. Ms. Reinhardt, do you have an idea on that?
Sure. Generally, our interpreters have a built-in 30-minute cushion should the commission go over time, but I would confirm that with Director Woods as well.
Confirm it with you.
I'm just going to check with our ASL and if you can share whether or not there is time, because I know we've only blocked out 10 to 12. There's a 30-minute cushion, but not sure what other opportunities you may have booked. So I will defer to either Sarah or Bethany James, whoever's representing the regional group to speak.
I would suspect that this discussion for the items left on the agenda, there's quite a few items. I think it'll take longer than 30 minutes. So
Yeah, I do too. And I know I'm short on time. I have another 30 minutes at max, but that's it.
Commissioner Lett has-
I do have 30 minutes. I have 30 minutes personally that I can give you. So as far as Bethany, I'm not sure if she's there or the other interpreters there, but I could do that if you guys really needed me to. That's fine.
Okay, Commissioner Lett, you have a comment?
Yeah, I make my plans based upon what our set time is at noon. I'm leaving. So I won't be here. So I guess my motion would be we table all the remaining items to the next meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Any other comments? We do have a motion on the table.
Commissioner Curry provided a second.
Can we
Okay.
vote?
Yeah.
I have
oh,
a
yeah.
question.
We're gonna vote on this. Yeah. So
Yes.
all in favor of tabling?
Mr.
items?
Chair,
Yes.
I apologize. I just want to clarify the motion with Commissioner Lett. Was the motion to table all the remaining items on the agenda until the
No,
next
just,
meeting,
uh,
or
six-
only the items remaining under new business?
I said all of the
6H,
remaining
I, and
items
J.
because we are at noon now.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear what your comment was, Commissioner Lett.
I move to table all of the remaining items because we are at noon now.
Okay. Understood. All right, so that's the motion that's on the table. Let's take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay. The ayes prevail and the motion is adopted. So we will go to the one last item, which is the adjournment item. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't see who seconded.
I did.
Okay, Commissioner Rothorn seconded. So we've got a motion by Commissioner Lett to adjourn and seconded by Commissioner Rothorn. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the meeting is adjourned at exactly noon. Thank you.
Bye.